How is everyone doing? I'm Nini FC, this is Blue Lions TV, and welcome to the match preview of our game tomorrow against Malmo, second leg of the Europa League. It's a big one, of course. We won the first leg 2-1. In my opinion, I feel like we are going to seal out the win, but before I get into my thoughts and opinions, you guys know what to do. If you enjoyed the video, smash that like button, help me get more than 500 likes for today's video, and don't forget to press the bell notification button as well to stay tuned to all things Blue Lions TV. You guys know I do things, but I'm going to do things a bit differently for today's match preview. So I'm going to be talking and focusing more on the press conference and the team lineup as well. When it comes to the tactical side, well, we kind of know how Malmo are going to play already. There's not really much to add to it. They aren't going to really give us any surprises in my opinion, so there's not really much to add from that tactical point of view. But before I get straight into the video, just a reminder, I do have the Man United match reaction that's going to be posted to Patreon subs later tonight, so if you guys want access to that, it's only going to be exclusive to Patreon subs. I wish I could put it on YouTube because I think that it would get decent views, so it is frustrating in that sense, but I like the series. I think that people like it as well. I like to continue it. The only way I can do that is on Patreon, so if you guys want access to exclusive videos, click on my Patreon and look at the payment tiers. Starting with injury news, Zappacosta, Kepa and Marcos Alonso aren't going to be playing tomorrow. I'm moving straight into the press conference. Now of course today, SARRI was joined today by Rudiger, and it was one of the most interesting press conferences for a while. Now I'm going to start with SARRI first before I talk about Rudiger. When SARRI was asked about Bruce Buck attending training sessions and monitoring things, SARRI was like, well, it's normal, it's not the first time he's done something like that before, and he's completely fine with it. When he was asked about the team's current issues right now, SARRI made the point that, you know, things are quite difficult because it's very hard to work on things, and that's because, you know, when you've got games coming every few days, most of your training sessions are only focused on normally recovery and obviously tactical work, so you don't really get the time to work on other things. And of course, during periods like that, it's not wise to do double training sessions because if you're playing every few days, your body's going to get even more tired, more fatigued, and potentially you may be more susceptible to getting injuries, so it doesn't really make any sense. And I think it does provide some context in regards to the fact that it's a process. It's going to take a while to get over our issues. We can't do it overnight. And when you consider this month as well, where most of our games have been away, you know, the team are traveling, etc, etc, it really reduces that time even more. Now, when SARRI was questioned about the system, he said that the system isn't the issue. But it was a bit annoying for me because he didn't really expand on that initial point. But I'm thinking that maybe SARRI took the question as someone questioning his game management. And SARRI basically said that, yes, I know that if you're winning the game, it's best to bring on a defender. If you're losing, it makes sense to bring on a striker. But SARRI said that he doesn't want to play the game like that. He prefers to see football in another way. And that basically means that he wants to win with style, you know? He doesn't want to be that pragmatic manager. Now, one thing that SARRI's constantly being asked all the time is if he's feeling the pressure, and SARRI isn't. He really isn't. Now, I'm going to provide some context. One thing that is one of the biggest regrets I've had on the channel last year was that I didn't release enough SARRI videos during the time where we were negotiating to sign him to be our new manager. Now, this is really annoying for me because, you know, I did a lot of research. I spent a lot of time on the tactical system, his coaching career as well, not just at Napoli and Empoli, but, you know, over the 20 years. And I really feel like if I had the time during that period to release those videos, I would have been providing a lot more context in regards to SARRI, who he is as a person, and his management style and his coaching career as well. And I think that if I did that, people would have much more frame of reference in regards to SARRI and really understanding who he is and what this system is. Now, getting back to what SARRI's answer was, and SARRI was saying that, well, this pressure isn't new for me. During the time where I was coaching in League 1 and 2 of Italy, I was under more pressure. And yes, you know, he was under way more pressure. During that time, he was actually questioning his management style and his credentials, if he was good enough. And he was actually considering if being a top flight manager was a realistic option. And it was around this period where he was coaching quite a lot of teams with, you know, varying levels of success. They were Arezzo, Avellino, Grosseto, Perugia. It didn't take until Alessandria Sorrento, where his methods were finally starting to pay off, and after he took them to third in the league, that was when Empoli signed him, and from then on, that's when Sarri started to get a reputation, got the Napoli job, signed for us. And you know what? This is why I like Sarri. You know, it's the story of a coach that was one of us. You know, this guy started getting into management when he was in his 30s, and you know, he was managing non-league for 10 years before he started managing in Serie D. So it's been a massive commitment. It shows he has love for the game, you know. This is why I sympathize with him. This is why I keep trying to stress that there's no simple black and white answers right now in regards to the current issues with this team. I think that if you're only blaming it solely on Sarri, I think you're doing yourself a massive injustice, and I don't really feel like you're respecting the context or really seeing the bigger picture at play. And I'm not gonna lie, it does kind of frustrate me sometimes when I'm on social media and stuff where people talk about Sarri as if he was much worse than Conte and Mourinho, and it's just like, is the fan base's memories that short term? Is it really that short term? I mean, I can give you guys a billion reasons as to why Conte and Mourinho were way worse, but I'm not going to get into that for today's video before I go on some long ass tangent. But I wanted to provide some more context in regards to Sarri saying that, you know, during his time in League 1 and 2 in Italy, it was actually much harder than how it is now. Moving on, I mean, Sarri was questioned by Liam Towney in regards to the fact that if the individuals are the ones that are causing these mistakes, do you think it's about time now to, you know, look at other options in the squad and the team so you can reevaluate everyone? And Sarri said that it's more the mentality of the players than the actual individuals. And for me, this was quite frustrating in that sense. But, you know, I'm trying to understand it from the manager's perspective. And Sarri is probably thinking, well, at the start of this season, the guys were playing well. Guys like Alonso and Aspi, etc., they were doing their thing. We're not moving the ball quickly. We're not doing this. We're not doing that. But for me, in my opinion, Sarri, you need to really reassess the team. I think it's about time now that you make that brave decision. Don't live by the sword and die by the sword. When it comes to guys like Alonso and Aspi, please, like, come on. It doesn't make any sense. You're only costing yourself in that sense. Now, for me, we need to see Emerson. I'm hoping that the guy's going to play tomorrow. I think he will, but it's time now that Sarri allows some of these guys to have that momentum. Give them a few winner games. You can't keep consistently seeing guys fail every single time and hoping that they're going to come good. It's not going to happen now. Yes, I think that confidence right now is playing an even massive part of making everything worse, but you can't think that guys like this are going to like one day wake up and play good. It's not going to happen. I mean, there's massive tactical implications in the first place as to why we're struggling more. Now, I'm actually going to do a video later this week because I feel like it's the tactical side when it comes to our current issues that's never really considered or thought about. And I think there's a lot of context in regards to that. For me, since teams have started to use very compact shapes and, you know, park the bus in the middle in that sense, and using like a diamond system or two up front, we're really struggling. And I think that I have to do my part now. I need to make the video so I can really explain everything so people get the full picture, because I think right now people are just being a bit too tribalistic. For me, because I don't really have any affinity to anyone really, I think that it allows me to see the bigger picture and see things from everyone's perspective. So I'm hoping that video is going to provide some context and some interesting points for you guys to form your own opinions and, you know, form your own discussion points. And finally, to end the press conference on Sarri, he was questioned in regards to N'Golo Kante and Jorginho again. Come on now. Why are they wasting their time asking these stupid questions? Because he's answered it 6 or 7 times now. He's giving the same response. There's much more interesting questions that could be asked, but I don't know, you guys. And Sarri basically said again that he prefers to see Jorginho there because he moves the ball quicker. Now, I think that makes sense, of course, with Sarri. You know, Sarri is a progressive manager and he thinks that if I've got Jorginho at the base, it's going to help us build up from the back even more compared to N'Golo Kante. Yes, I know that Kante will win a few more 50-50s, but if people really think, do you really think that Kante is going to be the one solution that's going to help us become much better defensively, then you're not really understanding football as much. I'm sorry, I sound like a dickhead, I know, but it's the reality. I keep saying all the time, we can see on the transition every single time down the flanks, let's like put 2 and 2 together. Now, moving on to Rudiger. And Rudiger was pretty interesting. Now, Rudiger, I can tell he's the type of guy that doesn't take no nonsense. He likes to get to the point, and he's got that inner confidence in himself where he's always going to speak his mind and not care about any consequences. And I think that's refreshing. I want to see honest opinions from players and from people being interviewed It gets so boring to start seeing all these PR answers every single time. Rudiger basically said in regards to the lack of leadership that, we can't cook a new Terry. It doesn't work like that. He admitted that SARRI hasn't apologised for any of his outbursts, but if you watch the press conference, he was basically saying that I'm sure that SARRI didn't mean some of the things he must have said to the players during these really bad defeats. But since then he hasn't apologised, but I don't think Rudiger's saying that sorry if you apologise, you win the squad over. I don't think he's saying that. He's just being honest in the situation. But the most funny answer was when he was questioned about SARRI's methods, and Rudiger basically gave an analogy of being in a classroom, hearing the same thing every single time, and being a bit mentally bored. Now, of course, people learn in their own ways. It's either visually or practically, for example. And we know that SARRI is a very meticulous manager, very, very meticulous coach that spends hours and hours assessing and looking at videos and etc, etc. Maybe his methods aren't translating as well with everyone, or maybe it's the players just saying that, well, no players really like doing the tactical stuff. I think they prefer to have fun most times, so I don't know. Now, this is going to be the final part for today's video. I'm going to be talking about the potential lineup for tomorrow. As you guys can see beside me, I'm sorry. If I don't see Hudson-Odoi playing tomorrow starting, I'm going to be annoyed. There's going to be issues. There's no excuse right now. Hopefully, now that Pedro ain't going to be playing, SARRI's going to start Hudson-Odoi. Now, if you guys watched my live stream last night with Joe Tweedy and with Alex Goldberg from the byline, I spoke about the fact that I feel like SARRI is choosing the wrong battles. I think that maybe he doesn't like the fact that people are telling him to use Hudson-Odoi, because that is the reality. And I'll tell you guys too, if you guys watch the live stream, you'd have heard it already, but the club have been actively encouraging him to start him and use him more. I don't know if SARRI doesn't like the fact that people are telling him what to do and he's taking it out on Hudson-Odoi. I don't know, but it's the wrong approach. And I think that when you're in this situation where you're feeling the pressure, everyone's against you, sometimes the way we react isn't going to be the best. And I think that so far, that's another failing of SARRI, where I think that it's hard, it's easy for me to say this, I'm literally sitting in an armchair giving my opinions, you know what I mean? I'm not interacting with these guys. I don't understand the politics or the dynamics. I don't have the press and an entire fan base of millions of fans on my back. I'm not under that same pressure. But I'm hoping for some divine intervention now. I'm hoping that he's having a dream and God's talking to him and he makes him see the light in regards to why Hudson-Odoi needs to play, because I think that SARRI just isn't seeing things the right way at times. And of course, I need to see Higuain, or Higuain because he's Spanish and they don't say her. Higuain and Hazard, that needs to be the front three against Malmo. Emerson's got to be there. It's no ifs or buts anymore. He needs to be there. I'm hoping Emerson does bits, because even though he needs that run of game time to get momentum, the times where he has played, we've seen his potential, but the execution hasn't been on point. Let's be fair, let's be serious. A few times where he's made runs in behind, he's either miscontrolling it or not doing anything from that. But the positive is the fact that he's getting in those areas consistently in the first place. And I think that this is where SARRI can build and help Emerson grow. Please, let me see Christensen and David Luiz, which, let's be serious, I think that we are going to see them play together. Zappacosta's not going to be there, so it's either going to be Aspi or potentially Ampadu if SARRI's considering the game this week, which of course he has to. So I wouldn't be surprised if Ampadu did start in that game. And in midfield, let's hope that Ruben is fully fit right now. I think that SARRI is taking the right approach with Ruben, really easing him in instead of rushing him. A lot of managers beforehand used to rush players, and a lot of managers previously tended to rush players back to the detriment of the player. I think that it's nice that SARRI is giving him that time to be fully fit. I know it's frustrating because we need Ruben in the team right now, and let's hope that he does play tomorrow and he does start, because that could be an indication that Ruben is fully fit. Now for me, I need to see Kovacic playing over Jorginho. I think Jorginho needs to be rested against Man City. And of course, N'Golo Kante will play. Kante doesn't really need that rest. And I'm guessing it's going to be Caballero in goal. I'm not going to lie, I'll be pretty annoyed if I see Willian starting again. But at this point now, I say this point every time, you guys, the squad just isn't good enough, Willian, we know how predictable his game is. There's not much he can do anymore. I mean, he's like 31, so is Pedro. I feel like maybe SARRI at the start, I don't think he realised these guys weren't as great as he thought. I think with Willian and Pedro, they're not going to get any better. How can you coach these guys to be better? SARRI was talking about making Marcus Alonso a world-class left back. Yeah, Ideally at the start that sounded amazing, but I'm sure as SARRI actually started working with the player more, watching him play week in, week out, you've realised I can't do anything with this guy. And I think with a lot of the players SARRI thought he could coach and develop, it's really not working. And it makes sense. I mean, if you're 28, if you're 29, if you're 30 or 31, you can't learn anything new in your game. I mean, it's over. And I think this is why SARRI is so vocal about wanting a younger style of player to work alongside because they're more malleable. But that's for the long term. Right now, we do need some guarantee us Champions League football. But anyway, you guys, that's going to bring an end for today's match preview. Please like, comment and subscribe. It's a bit of a different one. Ideally, I don't want to have the same format for everything every single time because eventually it will get a bit stale. It will get a bit boring. I think I'm always going to change things depending on the context of, press conferences or news, etc, etc. So I hope you guys don't mind this. Thank you for watching. I'm Nini FC. This is Blue Lines TV. Signing out.